Hello and welcome to the Between Cousins show. I'm Mr. Smith.
And I'm Brother Blues in, and I got a question for you, cousin.
What you got?
Is knowledge controlling you or are you controlling knowledge?
That's something that I recently started asking myself. So
Right, right.
I am trying to control knowledge, but I know there's some things that are controlling me. So
So yeah, as
I'm
we're continuing, so we're going to continue with the five levels of attachment. So I skipped a lot of chapters in the book, started with chapter 4, which kind of gave you like a short excerpt of what each kind of an analogy of what the five levels of attachments are. So now what we're going to do is we're going to actually go through each, the next few chapters, 5, 6, I think it's 5 through 10, and each one is going to be the different level. So like
okay.
today we'll do chapter 5, which is level 1, the authentic self,
Okay.
right? But like I said, it's like always while I'm reading this, it's like I'd like the viewers and yourself to really think about this. Is like, is knowledge controlling you, or are you controlling knowledge? Like, think about that. Seriously, think about that. Um, and I know the reason I say that is, um, I start to find as I go through social media or even when I'm having conversations with people, is like I start to see these attachments people have to things,
Right.
um, and I see how their emotions get flared up because of these attachments. Right, depending on their level of attachment, is like they may be a level 1, and so there's really not anything they just like talking about it. Right. But then I see some people that are like a level 3, a level 4, to where it's like all of a sudden they're like they're getting angry or they're getting sad or they're getting or whatever the emotion is around it.
Mhm.
um, and it starts to show me, it's like, oh wow, there's attachments, and I'm like, oh, knowledge might be controlling you because it's like, right. And so I asked the question. So it's like all the viewers is like, really write this down and look at it every morning, or look at it in any situation. Ask yourself the situation you might starting to get mad about something, or might be starting to get afraid of something, or frustrated with something. Is like, and think about it like, oh, is knowledge controlling me, or am I controlling knowledge? Right? Because when you control the knowledge, you don't have to have the emotional reaction behind it. When it's controlling you, you get overly emotional,
Mhm.
right? So I wanted to start it off with that. So
Okay.
chapter 5, the level 1, the authentic self. Uh, I am a living being, regardless of my knowledge, which exists only because I exist. Let me read that again. I am a living being, regardless of my knowledge, which exists only because I exist. That's kind of the quote at the beginning of it.
Okay.
So the first level of attachment represents the authentic self, the living being that is the full potential of life. It describes that force that not only animates the body, but also gives life to our mind and our soul. The authentic self is always present, and it is only our attachments that keep us from remembering who we really are. From this place, our name is an empty symbol whose definition or meaning is determined by our agreement. The action of making that agreement is the first expression of me. We were born, our parents lifted us up and held us in their arms. They envisioned endless possibilities for us in their love for us. They saw the unlimited potential of our authentic self, the life force that could take any action in any direction that would lead to those possibilities. But as we grew up, those possibilities diminished as our vision of what we were able to do and be became narrowed by our attachments until we believed we had little choice in life. The truth is that we narrowed our possibilities by our own will. Yes, it is true that the dream of the planet can narrow our possibilities if we wish to play along with its rules, but the agreements we make with ourselves matter most when it comes to being able to manifest our intent. This is because a simple no in our own mind can stop us from taking any form of action. That is how powerful our agreements are. We never stopped being the potential that our parents envisioned for us when we were babies. The only difference is that as adults, we now have control of not just our body, but also our mind. We require no knowledge to be our authentic self, and our awareness of this is what always, or should I say, is what allows us to use knowledge as we engage the world, using our body through our mind. as the vehicle that allows us to take action in life. It is a beautiful, symbiotic relationship of action-reaction, through which we are able to experience a connection, a communion between ourselves and all of creation. In all of our traditions, we hear the lessons of the wise men and women who teach us the beauty of life and how to let go of illusion, reminding us of our true essence. This is a moment of harmony with everything and the energy of life that courses through us. Every world religion and spiritual tradition has a name for the moment when we become aware that nothing but harmony exists. In the Toltec tradition, we would call this being in constant communion with our Creator. The only thing that separates us from one another is our point of perception. Together we make a whole. Engagement is the action of interacting with the focal point of our attention. As we engage life, we naturally go up and down the levels of our attachments, like a flower continuously opening and closing as days pass by. Sometimes we let our awareness as we increase our attachment to a focal point. Sometimes we let go of our awareness as we increase our attachments to a focal point. Other times we remember our authenticity as we let go of the attachment. But regardless of our degree of attachment, we are always our authentic self. We just simply forget that as we move up the levels of attachment. With the practice of awareness, we develop a discipline, a strengthening of our will that allows us to remain in a state of harmony longer, if we choose to. Many religions and spiritual traditions in the world have created a discipline that fosters this harmony, such as prayer, meditation, yoga, chanting, and dancing, among many others. This knowledge is an instrument of transformation, and experiencing it is the manifestation of the authentic self. I used to think that the world's greatest masters of every tradition were the best examples of the authentic self. Now I realize that everyone I know and see is a personification of the authentic self. We are all creating, producing, learning, engaging, and loving life. We are all the personification of life. We are always the authentic self. We simply make the choice to see within ourselves and others. There is a moment when the authentic self becomes no longer an abstract term, but an experience. I believe we all experience such a moment. It could be during meditation, while painting or dancing, working or working out, lecturing or talking, making love, eating or playing. It is the moment when judgment stops and pure harmony takes over. For me, I have crossed the threshold from concept to experience while jogging, usually around the 1 mile marker. This is when I am no longer thinking about my routine, pace, or even the pain in my legs. This is the moment when everything goes calm, and all I can feel is my breath, the stride, and the environment. My mind suddenly shuts off, and I'm completely in the moment. And I know exactly what I'm doing without the need or thought. From this place, even the term authentic self disappears, along with the rest of my thoughts. I am simply alive with the complete freedom to love myself and everybody I choose. I have no need to distort the information I perceive because my perception of life is unencumbered by any attachments. The authentic self is the harmony of mind, body, and soul as the expression of life. To tell the story of the authentic self is to tell the story of life, regardless of where humanity may be in the form of an individual's awareness. When we reside at this level, we have the freedom to choose how we want to engage the dream of the planet. The awareness that we are the living being that gives us life to our beliefs, to our knowledge, lets us choose with complete freedom where we want to place our intent and create, for as long as we choose to engage it by our agreement. Our will is set with the full awareness of our intent. Knowledge is alive in our mind precisely because we are alive. And that knowledge is the tool by which we can communicate with the rest of the world. In this state of harmony, we have the potential to love unconditionally because we have no conditions for our self-acceptance. It's a willingness to engage love with a respect for self and others. If someone were to say or do something insulting when we are residing in level one, the authentic self, it wouldn't bother us. Their words and actions would fall off us like loose garments, as there is nothing in us for them to stick to. So, because our love is not based on our behavior that we agreed, because our love is not based on a behavior that we agree with or find acceptable, we love them even through such instances. From here, every possibility is available to us. We have the freedom to evolve as life evolves and to engage the people we love without the need to domesticate them to our point of view. That's level one, the authentic self.
Mm.
Questions
Wow, there's a lot packing in there. Um,
or thoughts?
yeah, I liked the point where you made or where he made when judgment stops, you have pure harmony. That caught my attention right there. With if you said or you were reading and he said if you're engaged in any of those activities, you even stop thinking about the authentic self is out of there because it's just
Yes.
pure
Right.
harmony.
Running, yeah, jogging.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm no longer thinking about my route, pace, or even the pain in my legs. This is the moment when everything goes calm and all I can feel is my breath, the stride, and the environment. My mind suddenly shuts off and am completely in the moment. So it's more of
right.
like being in the moment. From this place, even the term authentic self disappears along with the rest of my thoughts. I am simply alive with the complete freedom to love myself and everyone as I choose.
Yeah,
So, okay, there it is.
yeah, and
But
mine's not even really a question. It's just like, how do you, I guess it is a question. How do you can't stay in that all day. Or can you?
well, I mean, is that it's kind of like his thing is it's all about the awareness, right?
Uh-huh.
Right. We're always going to be, kind of like in the end of the other chapter, you're always moving up and down the levels of attachment depending on what's going on, right? Because the
Right.
outside world is always going to be, reflective to whatever's going on. But it's and this is just a description of the authentic self, right? This is the level one attachment. So there is no, you have to be in this state of mind. It's just a state of mind that you could be in,
Right.
right?
Uh-huh.
There's a possibility of that. Um, and none of this stuff is really a good or bad thing. It's just this is all about having this self awareness. That's what all these books are. The four agreements, five levels of attachment, the mastery of love, what do you call the fifth agreement? All that stuff is all about building self awareness.
Right.
And so with self awareness, yeah, I could be angry. I could be angry, but you could be controlled angry and use the anger as motivation, right? Or as a teaching or as a learning tool. Or you could be out of control angry where you just have level five attachment and you're just going to beat everybody up, right? Or whatever, or go off on everybody,
Right.
right? So it's just, it's all about the authentic self is knowing who you are authentically. How would my authentic self react in this situation? And then having the awareness to know it's like, oh, I got about a level three attachment to this. Is like, I've got to kind of put it back. Or, hey, this is where I want it to be, so I'm just going to react to it. And having that knowing, right?
Hmm.
So it's not really about being in a state of this all the time because you would
Right.
like you would get walked all over
Right.
probably,
Uh-huh.
right? You're still going to have to have some. You're still going to have to have some point of at some point you're still going to have to out of anger or out of defense or act out of whatever it is, right?
Right.
I'm
Because those
anxious because
situations, those environments come up and you have to adapt and change as you.
right, right. But what it is it has you teaches you to learn how to use your emotional states as a not triggers, like a lot of people use, like, oh, you triggered me, but as a point of reference or a tool to say, hey, something's out of balance.
Hmm.
There's an imbalance here, right? Or there's something that it's like I'm attached to or I'm holding on to that needs some resolution right now, right? Someone you have certain people that make you anxious. Well, why do they make you anxious? What is it about them that makes you anxious, right? And anxiety could be a warning sign. It's like, okay, well, this person probably has some ill intent. I'm picking up on some ill intent. So you still need to have that awareness, right?
Right.
But if you're just reacting out of anxiety, you'll maybe close off, right? Or if you're like a dog and you're anxious, you're probably going to attack.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
it's like, so that's what this is all about. Is like, oh, once you understand your authentic self, that you even that doesn't exist, right? Because it's just a perception. If you notice, he says it is like, oh, even my authentic self disappears because you're just in the moment.
Mhm.
So in every moment, there is no self. Self is always when you define yourself because it's a definition. Self is always being defined. And so the authentic self is like, oh, well, this is who I am without anything else going on,
Right.
right? Without attachment. Should I say without attachments? This is
Without
my authentic
attachment.
self is who I am with attachments.
Hmm.
So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah, it does. And then after right after that, he said there was like no need to distort or change,
Yeah, I
anything
have
that.
no need. Yeah, I have no need to distort the information I perceive because my perception of life is unencumbered by any attachments, right?
Hmm.
Um, the authentic self is the harmony of mind, body, and soul as the expression of life.
Gotcha. So I get you. So
Yeah.
as people are going through, whatever they're going through, you're saying those level of attachments adjust, the awareness awareness goes up and down, it sinks. I'm asking it if there's an inverse relationship between the awareness and the attachments. So as you're
Awareness is knowledge of the attachment,
okay,
right? I'm aware that I have this level of it, and it's not, you don't even have to have a level of attachment, but just I'm aware that I have this attachment,
right.
right? And then you can figure out, well, what level of attachment do I have to this?
Hmm.
Like I like, so that's where awareness is the knowledge of, hey, I have an attachment to money, or I have an attachment to an individual. I have an attachment to a sports team. I have an attachment to a certain type of music, right? I have an attachment to whatever it is, right? Um, and so it's just but the awareness is always, it's separate from everything else. Awareness is more of like the way that you find understanding within things, right? You build some awareness around, okay, I have this attachment. Okay. And then, okay, well, now I need to understand what this attachment is. Why do I have this attachment? Then you find understanding with the awareness.
Can I ask you does trigger fit in there after attachment? Because the trigger is something that
Well,
causes.
to me, trigger and attachment are the same thing
Okay,
because it's
that's
the
yeah.
attachment that is causing you to be triggered.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's why I don't even like the word trigger because it's not really a thing. It's just that, it's when
It's a
you have the
buzzword.
awareness that you have an attachment, it's no longer a trigger. It's just like, okay, this is an attachment I have. This is why I'm reacting this way.
Hmm.
So at a certain point, when you're using the word trigger, that means you have no awareness that you have an attachment. That just means that you don't know why. So there's no awareness there. For me, a
Yeah.
trigger is without awareness,
Hmm.
right? Oh man, they triggered my anger. Well, why did that trigger your anger?
Hmm.
Oh, because then all of a sudden so you could use that questioning that trigger could actually is actually building awareness. So finding awareness around that trigger you would probably find that you have an attachment, right? So everything requires this awareness, and it's all self awareness. That's all self awareness is understanding yourself,
Hmm.
understanding your habits, understanding um, the whys.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There is no, yeah. So separate the awareness. Awareness is something separate from all this stuff, but it helps you to find understanding.
Hmm.
Hopefully that makes more
Yeah.
sense.
It does. It does. Yeah. So that definitely does clear it up because I was just like, okay, how does that work? But it's
Yeah.
just another word for the
So
same
like
thing.
so like you said down here, so like the awareness that we are the living being that gives life to our beliefs, to our knowledge, lets us choose with complete freedom where we want to place our intent. right?
Mm-hmm.
And create for as long as we choose to engage with it by our agreements. So basically, you brought up the word trigger, right? So
Mm-hmm.
as you're building awareness around this triggered my anger, for example. Okay, this triggered my anger. Okay, so what is this trigger? Why am I triggered? Oh, there's a belief,
Mm-hmm.
right? And most beliefs are basically we have an attachment to something. That's our belief is this attachment. Um, and then with the give life to our beliefs. So awareness, we are a living being that gives life to our beliefs. Through our knowledge, lets us choose the complete freedom. With complete freedom, we want to place our where we want to place our intent. So, what is your intention behind this? Although I don't know if that even made sense to me right now, but I'm trying to put these because you're using these words and it's like, and I really don't like these. Like the word trigger, I don't like.
Yeah.
I just don't like it. It's almost like not taking responsibility for your own stuff.
Yeah. What I meant
It's
when
almost
I
like
said
putting
it was
blame on something else or someone else versus um, you owning it. And this is that's what the awareness is doing, knowing that you're a living being that gives life to your beliefs, to your
right.
triggers, and to the knowledge. Basically, the beliefs and knowledge are the triggers. In this case, you get to choose with freedom how you want to and intent, but how you want to move forward with it,
Mm-hmm.
how you want to resolve it, or how you want to deal with whatever the situation is. Right?
Right.
Where if you're just thinking the thing, well, I'm triggered, you have no control. But that's where awareness comes in. Is awareness actually gives you this space to where it's like, okay, let me build awareness around this. Oh, okay, now I understand it. Now you have control. Now you know what your intent is. Now
Mm-hmm.
you know how to where to place your intention.
Mm-hmm. And you know the conditions of where of what's going to put you into that because you're aware of it at that point with the knowledge, right?
Um,
So
yeah.
if you
I mean, I mean,
if you know you have an issue and you have the awareness of there that there's an issue with a certain thing, then if your intent is not to go down a pattern that you've done before, then that's what we're talking
yeah,
about
you can
right
make a
there.
different decision, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I think it was in the I don't know if it was the four agreements. I think it was the four agreements, where he talks about you make a choice and you either suffer the consequence or you enjoy the consequence, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're suffering the consequences, then you can always make another choice.
Right.
If you're enjoying the consequences, you may want to continue on, right? Same thing. And that's just, you have this awareness about yourself that it's like, oh, hey, I made this choice. This was the consequence of that choice. Okay, yeah, that was not a good choice for me, or that was a great best choice for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I can always make another choice.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it's just having that understanding that it's like I'm the one that made the choice, so I'm the one that gave life to this situation,
Mm-hmm. I get it.
regardless of oh, I'm triggered. Like I don't know that it's funny because it always irks me when someone says, "Yeah, man, I know my triggers," and they keep bringing up the word trigger, but it's like, oh, but it's not really what you're talking about. There, your wound is being touched, and you have this specific attachment to a perception. You have a perception, and you have this attachment to this perception. And so, anytime something even remotely close to your perception happens, you're triggered.
Uh-huh.
But it's like, but you're not really being triggered. You're just reacting to a perception because you're assuming that this is the same thing. So it's like I'm going to react to it, right? And it's just, and while you're living in the space of like, oh, I'm triggered, this is triggering me. You're not really building awareness around it. You're just reacting,
Mm-hmm.
but you're reacting without intention. You're reacting without awareness. And then when you bring awareness into it, I don't know why this was so complex right now. It's like so funny to me. It felt so complex. It makes sense in my head while I'm saying it, but it's like it sounds so complex. So hopefully
Well,
this is coming
well,
across okay.
yeah. Well,
Um,
also, I mean, we're trying to use real examples to tie it to and make analogies of it. So I think, but I think
yeah,
as
and
everybody
I
interprets their own thing differently, they're gonna have
right,
different
right, right,
views of
right.
it. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. And this might go over better like if we had like another person on that had like an example of something or a situation. And I don't like
Mhm.
pulling in like a lot of the mainstream stuff going on
Right,
into our conversation. So it's like so that's why
right.
I'm speaking in general terms. But
Yeah,
uh, basically, being at the try to be at a level one attachment with everything. So be authentic within everything that you do, so that one you're controlling knowledge, not knowledge controlling you.
right. Hmm.
So, let me see. That was actually pretty quick. So you want to jump into chapter two, go into
Yeah,
level two
yeah.
preference?
Let's do it.
Like the other ones, we'll do some the video for the next one. So
Okay.
level two preference, and he starts each chapter off with this: is knowledge controlling you, or are you controlling knowledge? I use knowledge as the tool by which I engage my preferences in life. So this is kind of adding on to, okay, I'm using knowledge, and then I'm actually engaging with the preferences I have to make my choices. So at the second level of attachment, we still move with the awareness of the authentic self. We recognize our ability to attach ourselves to something as we engage in the present moment, but we are also able to let go of the attachment when the moment has passed. We see ourselves as a reflection of life in the dream of the planet, and we attach and detach ourselves with ease simply by recognizing and letting go of the reflection. Here's an example. Do you remember playing make believe as a kid? I recall that before beginning the game, we'd all discuss the roles we'd be playing. Then we would draw from each other from our own knowledge of what was needed to create a mask that resembled us in that role so that we could play. Next, we would take on the persona of that role. Our faces would change as soon as we started playing, and our behavior would be adapted to fit the battlefield, the hair salon, the dinner table, the hospital, or even a day in the office. What made these games so much fun is that we used our imagination and played our parts to create a fantasy world in which we could all engage with each other in different scenarios. Excuse me. As if we were playing in a dream with others while we were awake. As much fun as it was to engage in these games with our friends and family, when the game was over, we took off the mask it was created by our knowledge and went back to being ourselves. At level two, we have the awareness that knowledge is a tool that provides us with the information we need to make choices about where we wish to place our attention and take action. So this is actually explaining what I was trying to explain on level one. So this is what I was trying to get at. So, but at this level, we don't distort the information we perceive, and we are using it to engage only in this moment. We can choose to adapt in accordance with the present life situation without losing the awareness of our authentic self, without the need to project a false image of self. In the Toltec tradition, this is called controlled folly, the awareness and honoring of self as we engage the people around us who project an image or mask onto us. Our awareness allows us to see the temptation to become attached to the projected mask, but we maintain clarity. At this level of attachment, we don't forget we are playing a game, which makes it easier for us to detach once the game is over. This awareness allows us to live without needing to distort knowledge to fit our individual points of view, our attachments, and thus knowledge at this stage is still our ally. It is not corrupted by our sense of self importance or any form of conditional love. Our relationship with knowledge allows us to engage life as it is. We are able to make choices with our reason as we perceive the difference between truth and distortion. And knowledge is a clean and perfect reflection of life. From the Toltec standpoint, this is a clean mirror. We see every situation as it is, unclouded by smoke. We have the awareness that knowledge is the perfect reflection of life, and we are life. We have the awareness that the act of engaging in life is an act of love. And because we are choosing the direction in which we want to go and how we want to live, this is the act of unconditional love for ourselves. By approaching ourselves as a work of art based on our own self love, this allows us to unconditionally love the people in our lives for who they are without needing to domesticate them, see our point of view. Respect for the manifestation of our loved ones' own individual dreams, whether or not we agree with their choices, is always present at this level of attachment. Our love for self allows us to give love to the community. After all, we cannot give or share what we do not have. Every thought and idea that forms our belief system has power only through our agreement in the form of yes or no. And it is our preference of how we want to engage the dream of the planet and life. The word Toltec means artist in English, and life is the canvas for a Toltec's art. I'm aware that knowledge is an instrument by which I am able to interact with the world, and my yeses and nos are the chisels or paintbrushes by which I create. I engage in the Toltec tradition by choice, fully aware that the name Toltec refers to an action or agreement belonging to a philosophy. Not calling myself a Toltec wouldn't lessen my agreement or the lessons I learn from the oral tradition. This means my agreement is not subjugated to an identity. My knowledge is not in the form of a mask that gives meaning to myself or to my definition of self. I am free to choose to agree, disagree, scrutinize, and engage with the Toltec philosophy or any other as much as I want. I am free to relate and engage in relationships with people who have a preference for another tradition or philosophy. I can change my mind when I no longer fully agree, or I may agree with it my whole life. That is true with every belief I have. I engage it for as long as I want to engage it, knowing full well that I am a living being with the full potential to experience life with or without that agreement. This is what gives power to my agreements. I make them because I want to. This is my art, my agreement, to allow myself to experience life in its ever-changing truth with love. Thinking about an individual who chooses to eat healthfully, and through her search, she has chosen as her preference to follow a vegan diet, a diet that includes no animal products. She uses this knowledge to inform her choices when she eats, but she does not use the knowledge to identify herself as a vegan, nor does she use the knowledge to domesticate herself or others by it. If she chooses to have ice cream, she can do so without self-judgment and then re-engage the vegan diet afterwards if she so chooses. She uses the knowledge to engage her preference with regard to her nutrition without ever losing her self-awareness or her awareness of self. Now substitute that example of a vegan diet with a lifestyle choice of your own. You engage in this choice with preference, or is it a rigid framework by which you judge your self-worth? If the latter, you know you're attached at a level beyond preference. Our attention gives direction to the bridge that allows us to express and share with one another our knowledge of life. The agreements by which we construct our relationships as well as express our preferences. With awareness, knowledge remains the bridge of communication between us, a clean foundation as we construct the dream of us. In our shared dream, it is my preference to be in this relationship at this moment and to love everyone as well as myself unconditionally. That is the chapter.
Okay. Um, I picked one word that kind of popped out, and that was domesticate. That he's mentioned a couple of times in the last two, this chapter and the previous one. Um, and just so that I'm, saying this right, the domesticate that he's referring to is if I'm the first person in an interaction between two people, and like, for example, the vegan part, if a person says, okay, well, I'm vegan, and then the domestication is basically saying, oh, agree with my belief of veganism. Was that what the domesticate means?
So it would be more of you're trying to convince them to be vegan.
Right.
right?
Gotcha. Instead of just saying, "Hey, I'm vegan. I'm gonna eat a meat.
Or trying to
This is
convince
why I'm
yourself
vegan." And
to be
right.
vegan. So like self-domesticating, right?
Yeah.
That goes more into it in like the Four Agreements and the other books. He talks more about that. And actually, the beginning of this, they give a whole synopsis of the Four Agreements of
Oh,
this
okay,
book,
cool.
but we didn't start there.
Okay, gotcha.
Um, so yeah, so I do apologize anyone watching. Yeah, domesticate is basically kind of like how you would train a dog. You domesticate your dog to do what you want it to do, how you want it to do it, right? Same thing as if you had a personal trainer. The trainer is teaching you how to do what they want you to do. And a lot of times, it's about their way, not about you finding the right way that it worked for you,
Mhm.
right? I coach a high school track. I do a long jump and triple jump. So as I'm coaching them, I do show them, okay, we're doing this drill. Okay, this is how I want you to do it, and I give them an example. I'll do it, right? And then as I see them do it, it's like I notice I'm not expecting everyone to do it exactly the way I do it. And the reality is like I can't see myself doing it unless I record myself. So it's like I do it, and I'm like, okay, this is what I want you to do. And then I'll see them do it, and I'm like, okay, that worked for you, right? Running form, good example. Like I've seen, I see people with so many different running form. Their legs, knees high, knees not as high, feet are out, just depending on, their body structure. Their
Right.
running form is going to be the perfect running form for them is going to be different, right? But what I've started noticing is that all these coaches are teaching all these kids to do it this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. And so everybody looks the exact same. But back in the 90s and, in 80s, 90s, when I grew up doing it, like you had all kinds of different forms. And it was like, oh, how's this dude running so fast? He's got his Skeeter out like this and he's running faster than me, right? It's like, but now everybody wants to be like this. And so you end up with some kids adapt to it faster and other kids it doesn't work for, right?
Mhm.
So you
Mhm.
can't really. So to me, that's domestication. Is everybody doing it this way, only this way?
Mhm.
If you're not doing it this way, you're wrong, right? If you're not a vegan, you're wrong. And I actually see that, working in the field of, I have a holistic nutrition certification, energy medicine, working in this field. There's a lot of different modalities. A lot of
Right.
modalities.
Mhm.
I like them all. I don't identify with any of them. I do have a certification. I'm a Reiki master certification, but I don't identify as a Reiki master, if you know what I'm saying. Like I do have my Qigong. I'm going through a mastery program, but it's self mastery program. It's not I'm a master. Yeah, I might end up with the title of a master or whatever at some point, but it's like that's not. I don't go to like, hi, I'm a master teacher. No, I have a certification of master teacher. So I've never. It's interesting because I've never liked identifying with that stuff. This is what I do, but that's not my identity because I also do sports training and I also work in IT and I also do so many different things that it's like I can't just be like, well, I'm an energy medicine practitioner. Oh, I have a certification
Right.
and I can do some work. So when I'm in that practitioner role, okay, yeah, that is my title.
Right.
But when I'm not in that practitioner role, I'm not going to be like I'm an energy medicine practitioner. I
Right.
just don't do it, right? And I don't force any of my stuff on anybody. So that's what it means by domestication,
Domesticate.
right?
Yeah.
And so if you are trying to domesticate people, that like he says, that means that you're at a different level of attachment,
Right.
right? Okay, I have a Reiki master certification. Now, if I had a level 3 or level 4, it's like that is my identity. Well, we'll find that. I'm like jumping ahead, but you'll
Right.
find that it's like all of a sudden at a certain point, it's like that's my identity. Yeah, actually, level 3 is identity.
Right.
It's, it's
And then the other thing I was going to ask about the portion where he talked about when the kids are playing make believe, and then they can turn on and off those, they're
well, you were supposed to take that as remembering when you were a kid playing make believe,
right.
right?
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
think about that. It's like you were able to be a doctor in a moment's notice, and then afterwards you're not a doctor no more, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You're a 5-year-old kid again. Right.
Yeah. So it's like, or whatever it is. Oh, I'm working on the railroad, and then it's like, oh, okay, now I'm just a kid eating dinner. Like I'm not
Right.
working on the railroad anymore. Like it's like you can adapt to it, right? It's like I'm Superman. And then it's like, oh, okay, I'm no longer Superman.
Right. Uh-huh.
So think about like look at the world now. Look at the world today. Like it's like, yeah, oh man, and I try not to bring real world
Yeah.
stuff
The
into
outside.
our
Yeah.
talks,
Uh-huh.
but there's a lot of and we're not even talking about the third level, but there's a lot of identity attachments. There's a lot of
Mhm.
identity attachments going on in the world today. Um, so it's just but you think about it, it's like, oh, they're playing make believe, and they're identifying with what they're playing make believe because they have an attachment to that make
Mhm.
believe. And I'm going to leave it there till we go over
Right.
that chapter.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That I mean that's kind of what I wanted to get out of that. It's just you know those are choices that we can make to basically with that example that he was given in the daydream. It's like, okay, yeah, we're playing cops and robbers in the morning, and in the afternoon it's Indians and cowboys, or whatever,
yeah,
whatever. So yeah.
well, apply that to yourself. So that's a great analogy, but apply it to yourself.
Hmm.
Think about these areas to where um, you use your how do I put it? Where you're using your agreements for this, or should I say attachments for this, uh, how you engage with people. So like
Right.
you identify a specific way to engage with people.
Right.
Um, After that engagement, are you still identifying as that, whatever that situation is?
Ah, I see what you're saying. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Apply it to, it's not just, oh, dude, like you work, I'm trying to remember tech support for the pool company, right?
Yeah, for the spa part. So basically, yeah. So in that role, in that moment, I'm on that phone call. I'm diagnosing as a technician to get him what he needs, and then after we're done with that portion, then I turn on to being the sales guy and say, okay, all right, what else do you need for your truck? You need these accessories to go with the item, and so I turn into a sales guy. You know,
Yep. And
so
then when you get off work, you feel a sales guy.
I'm trying not to be no. I'm trying to get some
I know.
things done and do what
I
I need
know.
to do in my
I work
personal
at I
life.
work at IT, and it's like, and really, I don't. The funniest thing for me for being in IT is I'm not that quintessential computer freak. I don't know, whatever. I'm not. I don't sit there and live, breathe computers outside of work.
Right.
Unless I need to. Like it's like unless I have like okay, I got some computer stuff I got to do, but I don't sit there and live, breathe words like I have to do that. And I've always been that way. But being in that field, I find a lot of people is like, oh, I'm a gamer or I'm a coder or I'm this. They and
They have to have
rightfully
some
so.
form
They
of it.
they enjoy doing that stuff
Right.
in a sense. But it's like, but it truly does turn into their identity,
Hmm.
right? And they'll say it's like I'm a computer nerd or I'm a gamer, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a whatever it is, or even look on social media. I'm an influencer. That's an identity. That's
Hmm.
not something you are. That's an identity, right?
Hmm.
That's not something that I really identify with. Yeah, I might influence people, but it's like I don't consider myself an influencer because I don't want to be, and that's not who my authentic self is,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
So, and it is, and for me, it feels inauthentic to say that I'm an influencer. But for other people, maybe that's their authentic self because it's like when you start getting into like the astrology and stuff like that, you'll see these different personalities where it's like, oh, okay, well, that personality is more. These people are more outwardly type of people.
Outgoing.
They would
Yeah.
be considered more like that. That would be their comfortable state. Where I'm a Virgo. I'm more inward, and I'm more of like around okay, understanding, knowledge, okay, putting pieces together, right?
Hmm.
I'm not really the like, oh, let me influence you into this. Let me talk you into this. I will debate the hell out of you because I'm using knowledge. It's like, oh, like, well, no, let's talk about this. Like, I will have a discussion all day,
Right.
right? So,
Hmm.
but if I had to fall into that role of an influencer or whatever you want to call it, or a motivator or self motivator, whatever it is, okay, yeah, I could jump into that role. That's what coaching is, right? It's
Hmm.
just motivating. But I'm a coach when I'm a coach. I don't come home and coach, although I do think of workouts and stuff outside of that, right? But
Right.
it's more of like a self coach where I'm coaching myself at
Right.
that point, right? So I'm
Okay.
not playing that role, and I don't go to like the store and like all of a sudden I'm coaching people, right? Now I do catch myself engaging in like energy coaching with people. Like I do catch myself because it's like, and it's not that I identify with it. It's just that I naturally see things and understand things. And then it's like people bring stuff up to me and I'm like, oh, hey, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, and I had to catch myself and I'm like, hold on. They didn't ask me for this,
Right.
you know, but
Hmm.
at the same time, they sparked the conversation. So in a sense, they did ask me for this. Right.
Right.
So it's like, I'm always conflicted with that because I don't want to overstep my bounds with,
Right.
maybe they just wanted to vent and they weren't really wanting, this information. Right.
Right. They didn't want, yeah, I get you.
So that's always like this conflict for me because it's like I'm not trying to overstep my bounds with people either.
Yeah, but I think you do a good job with that. Just even in our conversations, is you ask the question like, okay, so what you ask the intent question, like
I make you think
what,
about it.
right, uh-huh, and you
Yeah,
make
I ask the question so that you can think about it because really, in any what we call healing situation, there's nothing I do to heal you other than I put a light on what needs work and I ask you questions so that you can have build understanding around what you need to do and
Mhm.
making the choices, because that's where the change happens. That's where the healing happens is the individual, not from the coach, not from the psychologist, not from the teacher, not from anybody else. Same thing with sports. It's like,
Mhm.
I can teach you a skill, but you're the one that has to master it, right? I could teach you how to do a skill, but I can't do it for you.
Mhm.
I could teach you how to, eat right, but I can't do it for you, right? I can teach
Mhm.
you how to exercise, but I can't do it for you.
So the just real quick, in both chapters you said is knowledge controlling you, or are you
You
controlling
control the
knowledge
knowledge.
at the very front? So my question, not even a question on that, is just like with that statement right there, do you think the average person has too much, not has too much knowledge, but has too much outside knowledge that's influencing and controlling? And
Do
that's
I think
probably a
they do?
broad, that's a broad too broad of a question too. So
No, I mean, it's a good question, but I mean, it's going to be individually set,
yeah,
right? Now, you do see big groups of people that all are, maybe complaining about one thing, the same thing,
right,
right? And then if you were to individually talk to each one, they would all have a different perspective,
right.
or a lot of them might have the exact same perspective, right? But in those cases, like and I think about this as like, I don't know if it is because of okay, they're all kind of resonating with each other, that they're all agreeing with each other. Like, I don't know because I'm
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
it's one of those things where it's like, I'm more of an individual where it's like, I like to usually do the opposite of what the group does. Like, I don't like group think. I don't like, this is what, I don't like to do what the group does. Like
Mhm.
I like to be on the outside because one, I don't trust a group. I don't trust it. It's not comfortable for me to be part of a group. Um, Now, if it's a small group or whatever, like, I go to Qigong, I
Right,
resonate with the people at the Qigong studio, right? If I'm
right,
doing energy medicine, I resonate with them, but I don't consider myself part of the group. I just say that these are people that I resonate with, right?
right. Uh-huh. Yeah.
So it's just
So so
it's
so
different.
in that
But
respect,
there's nothing wrong with it one way or the other.
right.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's just I don't have that understanding of how I could be. I don't have that because I don't engage in that type where I'm like, oh, I'm part of this whole group. Now I
Yeah,
did when I
but
was in college, right?
right.
But
But
even
that does
then,
allow you to show your
there was,
awareness,
yeah.
and your awareness in and out, or those particular attachments that you want
Well, no,
to
it just
happen with
doesn't feel
those.
good to me.
Right. Uh-huh.
It just doesn't feel good. Like
Right.
I'll give you actually a real life example. So when I was in college at New Mexico State, um, it was I think it was like Martin Luther King's birthday or something was came up, right? And there was some black kids on campus that were like, "We're gonna march down campus," and they were like, "Why aren't you coming and marching with us?" And I was just like, I don't know, it didn't resonate with me to go march. Like it didn't, I don't know, I didn't find a reason for me to have to go march, right?
Right.
But at the same time, I wasn't brought up from that perspective.
Hmm.
Being half black, half white, it was just everyone's everyone. I wasn't brought up with this, let's separate that. There was a little bit of it, right? You're just always going to get it. But I
Right.
just wasn't brought up that way.
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't feel good regardless. Like it's, oh, it was just one thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now I would. It didn't mean that I didn't get along with people, but but for me, the whole group aspect of it just doesn't resonate with me.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Now at a party, everybody's partying. That's a whole other story, right? But the thing is that when well, at least back in the day, you go to a party, it was like, these people, it was so many different varieties of people. It wasn't just one. There was a
Right.
bunch of different things going on at the
Right.
same, right? So you weren't caught up in this big, it was a big group and we were all partying, but we were all individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Where with that, it's like you're part of a group and you're all one. And I think that's what it is like when it's all one focus, that doesn't resonate with me because one, it's like there's an infinite amount of ideas for perceptions and for focus, right? So when you're in this thing where it's just one focus, it's only this is all we're focusing on right now. Well, that should be set for you as an individual because that's you being in the moment. Kind of like we're talking about the authentic self in the level one, to where
Right.
you get to this point to where you're kind of like in this euphoric state of like in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
When you're with a group, you're not in the moment. You're with whatever the group is doing. There is no in the moment at that point. So there is no authentic self anymore. Now you're group.
Uh-huh.
Now you're identifying with this. I am marching. I am this, right? You're identifying with it.
You're
And
identifying with the group and all of its attachments, right?
yes, yeah,
Got it. Mm-hmm.
right. So now, is there anything wrong with that? No, I mean it's absolutely fine, right? But again, for me, that's just never resonated with me. But being a mutable sign, I could jump in, be part of it, and jump out and be part of this, and then I could jump over here and be part of this, and I can be over here and be part of this, right? It's like I could just it was easy for me to kind of like a chameleon where I could just be with whoever, whether it was like these white frat dudes or a black fraternity or we had a country bar or we had a Tejano bar or wherever we were at.
Right.
I was able to go in and I could and relate to everybody there, right? Versus if I put myself in one box, I'm only relating to these people. I'm not relating to anybody else.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of setting myself aside. So it's just more of a, to me, it's just, why it's easier in life to be able to adapt and be open to not being so just bullheaded. But at the same time, you also keep your choice. I'm a choice. Well, if
Mm-hmm.
I choose to be part of this group and only this group, now I'm stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just the way I think. It's like there's no right or wrong there. It's just more the way that I think and the way that I view things. It's not a dig on anybody or anybody.
Right.
Everybody could do whatever they want to do. But when you build awareness into it, you start to find that it's like life seems to be a lot more fun when you don't just when you have choice, when you keep your choices open and you choose what works for you, not what you feel like you have to do.
Right.
Although there are things that you have to do. Like there are certain things that, okay, no, I do need to take care of this. But being able to get into the attachment and saying, and knowing, having that awareness saying that is like, oh yeah, I can have this attachment for right now, but then I can drop it whenever I don't need it.
Right.
I can play this role right now, but then I don't have to be in that role. Right. But a lot of people that do the group stuff, they go home and they live it. Right. Kind of like the analogy of the first chapter that I read with the
Uh-huh.
soccer, right? You
Right.
get to like level 4, level 5, or shit, level 3 is identity. And now I identify as a Lakers fan.
Right.
I identify as a activist. I identify as a, um, I don't know what else is out there. I mean, there's so many different things.
Right.
Religious. I
Uh-huh.
identify as a Christian. I identify as a Baptist. I identify as a holistic healer. I identify as a Reiki master. It's all just identity, right? Versus, okay, this is something I can do, but I don't identify with it. I identify with it when I'm doing it, but that if I'm not doing it, yeah, it's something that I can do.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like you don't identify as a musician, but you identify except when you're playing the guitar,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And again, there's nothing wrong with that if that's your work, your life's
Uh-huh.
work. Hey, by all means, man,
Mhm.
do your thing.
Right.
right? There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But be aware that just because someone doesn't agree with it doesn't mean that they're right or wrong. It's just they don't resonate with it, right?
Right.
That's not
Mhm.
their thing. It doesn't make them a good or bad person. It's just that they're just that's not where they're at.
Yep. And that's the title of that chapter, preferences. So, you know.
Yeah, everyone has their own preferences.
Yep. So yeah, these are two good chapters, man. I mean, he always, packs these chapters full of knowledge and information. So, and self-evaluation terms and stuff that everybody can look at and look at and evaluate themselves.
Yes, building self awareness,
Hmm.
building self awareness. So, but yeah, we'll close it out for today.
Yep.
And I want to leave everybody with the question: is knowledge controlling you, or are you controlling knowledge?
Hmm.
So
That's
now,
good.
Brother Blues in,
I'm Mr. Smith. Thank you for
and
listening.
always follow your Zen.
Yep.
And thank you for listening.